You are listening to the pilot episode of SaturnCast. If you like this and would like to hear more of it, then consider supporting me on Patreon or Ko-fi. Patrons will get episodes a week early, and then everyone will enjoy them when they come out regularly. Alright, for today's episode, we have a very special guest. Care to introduce yourself, sir?
Howdy do, folks. My name is Joni.
Well, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
Great. So, now, originally the plan was to have Johnny here be on a stream for the South by Southwest Sonic panel, but anyone who turned into the pre-show remembers that my internet wasn't really working that day, so we're just gonna go over everything that went down here, which is not a lot, but enough to talk about.
Thankfully. Imagine if it was a whole show of nothing.
Oh god, it would be like 2015 all over again.
And we'd rather not have something like that happen again.
Oh no, because probably the highlight of the panel was the Team Sonic Racing Overdrive.
Because, woohoo! New cartoon!
Yeah, and it's a modern Sonic cartoon too, which he hasn't really had any of those since Sonic X, and it's probably best if we don't count that.
Yeah. Been a long time coming.
Yeah. And it's animated by Tyson Hess too, I think.
Tyson Hats and NECA Productions, the same guys who did Mania Adventures, basically.
Yeah, and I think it's just as good.
Yeah, same.
Big is just...
Even without the dialogue that Modern Sonic is so infamous for.
Yeah, like, Big is a big lovable doof.
And sometimes it's best to have it silent.
Yeah, like, I really like how expressive everything was. Like, the lack of dialogue, it kind of forces them to have to be more creative with how everything is shot and how everything moves.
Yeah, it basically forces them to use the strengths of the character design.
Right, which is... I want to say it's something that's inherently easy to do with 2D, because for as much shit as the adventure games get, their cutscenes are super expressive and super well animated.
Yeah, just imagine the same kind of effort in a modern day Sonic game. Imagine that kind of effort going into Force's animations.
Yeah, like Sonic Riders and stuff had it, so, well, save for Free Riders, but I don't think anyone really counts that.
Let's not talk about Free Riders.
Yeah, the less we stay on the topic of those kinds of games, the better.
Those are basically the bastard childs.
Like, I love Mania Adventures and Overdrive, but I really hope future Sonic cartoons aren't just tie-ins for games.
Yeah, because even the early cartoons weren't really tied to any games. They were loosely based on them.
Yeah.
And they did great. They had that little freedom.
Yeah. Like, as I understand it, Animation Sonic is one of the branches that they're trying to push now.
Yeah, it was Classic Sonic, Modern Sonic, Film Sonic, and Animation Sonic.
Yeah, so, like, ideally they would have, like, more original cartoons in the works. Like, I'm not saying, oh, give us a Sat AM Season 3, as much as I would love that, but, like, just not exclusively tie-ins for games, because that kind of limits what you can do.
Yeah, give us the original stuff.
Like, let's not even to say that you have to be completely original with it. Like, I know
You
Sat
can certainly
AM...
pull a Sonic X and have adaptations of the games, but like
Yeah, like that.
kind of loose adaptations based on it, but they kind of do their own thing.
Yeah, like I remember in Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, the Chaos Emerald saga, there are a few references to the games, like Robotnik's like, oh, I tracked it to the Marble Zone, and anyone who played Sonic 1 knows very well what that is.
It's the second slowest zone.
Well, I would say, yeah, actually, it is the second slowest, second only to Nightmare Zone.
Yeah, but, and yeah, about the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, yeah, they had the whole Chaos Emerald saga, and even the designs of the emeralds were different. They
Hmm.
did their own thing with it,
Yeah, and like
and it was like what? Instead of 6 or 7, it was 4.
something like that, yeah, and their powers weren't really explicitly stated because this was years and years and years before something like Sonic Adventure, where it was more clear cut what they do and why everyone wants them so badly.
They were the sources of infinite power. I mean, probably were, but not to the extent of
Oh,
Sonic Adventure.
yeah. I mean, if you want to count Robotnik growing super giant as perfect chaos.
Kinda.
Oh my god, I never realized that parallel until now.
Oh crap! But there was no Supersonic.
I know there's that one artist, Billy something, that he really likes Dick Sonic style, and he's done a Supersonic or two before.
I've seen it. I think I actually follow the guy.
I don't really know why he doesn't really show up on my feed anymore. Like, I'm active on Twitter, and I follow the IDW Sonic Facebook group pretty closely.
I guess the algorithm just hates artists.
It does, and it would much rather put forth put forth just random shit posts.
Like, look at this opinion thing I did. Look at this meme I did. Oh,
Yeah,
but just don't look at
like
this
that.
beautiful art piece I just did.
Like another tier list with Sonic games, a good chunk of which are missing.
Yeah, look at those. Don't look at this absolutely gorgeous piece of supersonic art that some dude made. I think is.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's not really built for creators like something like Newgrounds is.
Newgrounds is great.
Yeah, Newgrounds is great about promoting artist content. Like, I was invited to be a part of the voting community for March's picks, like what would be displayed on the front page, and it explicitly
Ooh,
stated you like you're not disallowed, like not allowed to vote on live action videos. Like in theory, there's nothing stopping you from doing so, but preferably vote for animation because that's kind of what Newgrounds is built on.
yeah, it's art and animation. That's basically the main focus. Mostly, I'd argue mostly animation.
Yeah, like
But
it's
then again, it puts the creator. It still puts the creators first
right.
for anything.
Like there's no partnership or anything like YouTube as far as I'm aware, so there's nothing like pushing anything above small creators. Like anyone can make it big on Newgrounds.
Which is great.
Yeah,
I kind of
because
need that big.
yeah,
I kind of need that push.
yeah, because like if you are not already big on YouTube, you are pretty much never going to be big. That's just not how the algorithm really works anymore.
It's no longer broadcast yourself.
It is not. Because who doesn't want celebrities like Will Smith being the face of a website that was originally all about broadcasting yourself?
Yeah, why? Why would you have Why would you have PewDiePie as a face when you can have the theory?
Right.
I'm bringing that up, but like,
It's a relevant topic.
and it pretty much reflects the state of YouTube.
Right, like, with PewDiePie, it was all, hey, this one guy who is doing everything by himself, broadcasting himself, built this entire thing by himself, for the people who enjoy his content. And now it's just kind of corporations buying the space, which
It's
is,
being treated like TV in a
yeah,
way.
which is like the whole reason why YouTube was so appealing back then. It was kind of free from all that corporate stuff.
Yeah, it's a shame that it had to go that route. Cause
Yeah, it's
it
really just,
sucks.
yeah, it's like kind of a beginning of a new era, which is kind of bad because YouTube is kind of just doing whatever they want and getting away with it because, let's face it, there is no real good, viable competition for YouTube.
Well, maybe yet. Maybe someone will come out
Mm,
and make something that's just as big as YouTube or something, but
I
that's
hope,
probably being a little too hopeful.
yeah, like, the problem is YouTube is owned by Google, which is like the second biggest corporation ever, second only like maybe Disney. They have like
Jeez.
billions and billions and billions of dollars to draw from to buy out whatever or just completely crush any competition because, well, why would they want anyone to challenge their empire?
Well, the only one that could challenge their empire would be Disney, but Disney is more interested in competing with Netflix, sort of.
Yeah, that's. Well, I would like someone like, say, PewDiePie and Markiplier and Jacksepticeye. I'd like to see them break off and start their own kind of platform for creators. I think that would be good since they're creators themselves and they know like the workings-ons of everything that should go on.
Yeah, and they're basically some of the biggest names on YouTube that are not corporations.
Right. Like, if you gave me something like a T series for example, or the bots that are running YouTube, I'm way more likely to trust someone like Markiplier.
Yeah, same. Basically, and also because they also tend to support other channels, like by showcasing animations and fan games and all that.
Right. Like they are helping smaller creators get a foot in the door, and that's something that YouTube themselves is not really doing.
It's like, hey, look at this guy. He did a really cool animation. And look at this guy. He made a look at this game that someone made for me. Go support this. Go play it.
Yeah, and it's these days on YouTube, it's more like, oh, check out this Logan Paul vlog or this video that inexplicably got super popular that doesn't really fit with literally anything else you watch, but we're gonna recommend it to you anyway.
Just to mention of Logan Paul makes me groan.
It does, but he is unfortunately a very relevant figure in the internet sphere.
Sadly.
But that is just how things work on YouTube these days. You have to basically be a giant douchebag to get popular if you're not already popular.
Which is a shame, especially for those. And has been a topic of discussion for a while. The fact that YouTube basically cannibalizes animators.
It does. Like, I am surprised that I got recommended the animation channels that I did because, like, the algorithm actively seems to work against them.
Luckily, they seem to be doing pretty well. Like the likes of Jaden Animations, for example.
Yeah, like, I know Odd One's Out. He's super huge with like 10 million subscribers, I think.
Around that, last I checked.
Which is great for them. I'm happy animation is being more respected, I guess, as a part of the. Because, like, animation was super important to the early days of YouTube. Things like ASDF movie, that is like a pillar.
Yeah, and I remember seeing a lot of animations in the early years of YouTube. At least the first years I started interacting with it,
Yeah.
like around 2008.
Yeah, like, even things like those really weird short stick figure fight things, those were super popular too. People tend to forget that.
And I think a lot of the animators that came to YouTube also came from Newgrounds, right?
I
I
know a
think
lot
I'm
of them
mistaken
did.
about that.
I know,
Yeah, like
Chakra X, I think.
yeah, Chakra Eggs, then Curvifer, then even Ego Raptor came from Newgrounds. And this, I think the whole stick figure thing came from Newgrounds too.
I believe it did, and it's kind of a shame that Ego Raptor doesn't really do animations anymore because like he was super talented with it, but I don't know why he stopped, but I imagine part of it is that it just doesn't get the sort of traction that it used to.
I think it's because of the same reason that Ross from the Game Grumps, also known as Rubber Ninja, doesn't do so many animations anymore. It's basically because of the algorithm. They saw that the best option is to go like let's plays and stuff and not do animations. Is those take a while to make.
Yeah, and like
And
I
YouTube is basically treating everything like what is it, like TV. It's
yeah,
got to be long content, that many episodes, keep people binging and stuff.
yeah, like, and I definitely get the feeling of that. Like, even if it's not necessarily the viewer's fault in this case, I definitely get the feeling of pouring like a ton of work into something only to feel like nobody really cares. Like, even if you love what you do, that's gonna hurt your motivation.
Yeah, and I've gotten a few blows myself.
Oh, believe me, I know all too well what you mean.
Oh, and I've seen it happen to you too. I've
Yeah,
seen the Twitter stuff. They really aren't kind to creators. Goddamn.
yeah. And like, then Twitter suggests, removing, like, statistics, like viewing likes and retweet, and it's like, if there's one thing creators hate, it's being able to view how well their stuff is doing.
Yeah, sure. I already get crappy results in my stuff. Now I don't even get to see how well it's doing in the first place.
Yeah, like, that, Sonic movie joke I made, like, of all the things of mine that could get attention, it's a joke I put not even 2 seconds into.
And my most liked tweet, in my case, is the whole animation friendly thing.
Right. Like, I'm not looking a gift horse in the mouth here. I'm grateful people are looking at me, but like, could we pay attention to the things I've made that I actually care about?
The things we actually put effort into, hours into.
Right, right. And it's just like, come on, people. At least look at things that, like, say, my Sonic Forces review, something that took me about a month and a half to put together, I think. And, like, that has a little over 100 views, and compared to the over 100 likes and, like, 13,000 engagements, I think, of my Sonic movie tweet.
In my case, it's the whole animation friendly being about 18K likes, and my most liked drawing is from 2016, and not even a fifth of it.
Uh, yeah, man, it is definitely not a very creator friendly sphere on the internet.
Well, except for Newgrounds.
Yeah, that is, like, a safe haven for creators where you could be as elegant or edgy as you want.
Newgrounds loves you all the same.
Yep, yes it does. You know what else? Speaking of Newgrounds, you know what else is super popular there? Games. And speaking of games, is there anything else you'd like to introduce?
Games about games. How about we talk about the new thing we just established?
That would be swell. So, for those of you who don't know, we recently, for a few years, we worked with a sort of company, more of a group called Gamestalgia. We kicked around a few projects over the years, none of which really materialized due to a variety of factors.
Several complications.
Several, like, there could be a documentary on everything that went wrong with something like Poovy Adventure 2.
Yeah, our little Sonic fan game thing.
Right. But with things more settled down now and things more figured out, as it were, we started our own sort of group, Summer Horizons.
Summer Horizon Studios.
Yes. If you can guess what that name is a reference to, then you must be a fan of Evening Star referencing Knuckles Chaotix. Wink wink.
And they have good taste and that
Yes.
stuff.
Can't fault
Well,
them for
not so
that.
much the game, but the soundtrack.
Yeah, can't fault them for that.
And we also like that soundtrack.
Yeah. We're kicking around a few projects right now, one of which we're hoping to get ready for Sage, and we're hoping you're really gonna like that, because we're really excited to show it off.
Really, really excited.
I'd
And
like,
it's been like a long time coming. We've been meaning to show off something at Sage, even during our Gamestalgia days.
yeah, like that was as early as 2015, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now that we're more ready and more prepared, we can really get something ready, and I'm hoping to have a demo or something to show off here real soon, and I hope you're really
At
gonna
least
like
a
that.
one-level demo. Around the one-level demo should do.
Yeah, I'd say a one level demo should be fine. Cause like most demos are just one level, if that.
Like even when Freedom Planet was shown off at Sage, it was like just Dragon Valley.
Yeah, and the Freedom Planet 2 demo I think was just one level.
Yeah, it was Dragon Valley 2.
Yeah, gosh, it's been years since I've played that.
Yeah, I still have it. I still have the 2017 demo of Freedom Planet 2.
Yeah. I kind of wonder what's become of that because the development team just kind of went quiet about it.
It's still in production.
I think it's slated to come out this year.
Yeah, they even have a few updates on Twitter, if I recall. I recently checked to see if everything was going smoothly. It seems like the game it's progressing well.
Well, that's good because I was getting worried about it.
Same.
Like, the whole thing with Freedom Planet is that it started off as a Sonic fan game, but the developers saw, hey, we could do something more with this, and they did. And that, in a way, kind of inspired Summer Horizons.
Yep.
Like, one game in particular we're kicking around is something that's kind of big and going to be a years-long undertaking to be sure.
Year at least.
No, years and years, because if something like Sonic Time Twisted, I think it was, took years to complete, this is going to be even bigger than that.
It's gonna be a biggie.
Yes, it is, and oh boy, I am not, well, it's not fair to say I'm not looking forward to it, but Man, that is a big commitment and a very long one, too.
It's gonna take a lot of dedication. Fortunately, things are looking good for the
Yes, they
most
are.
part.
Yeah, they are, and we're definitely always looking for new hires.
And right now we're looking for artists.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm a pretty talented artist myself, if I do say so, but I'm
I
just
would
one
agree.
person.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Like, it always helps to have more people that specialize in different things, like 2D environment artists, 3D environment artists, character design, that sort of thing.
Especially if they have varied styles to go with it.
Right,
It
like
always
that.
helps to have different visual identities.
Yeah, that would help with like the concept art and stuff because like you would have things like a ton of characters to draw environments, enemies, weapons, that kind of thing, and I would not feel right putting that all on one person.
Yeah, especially because while you could have one person with one consistent style, I think it helps to have more than one
Yeah,
with varied styles. It can really lead to some neat visuals.
yeah, I would say so. It would especially help with like actual in-game art, like the sprites and stuff.
Yeah, and even in 3D games, there seems to be a little. Well, every not so much every, but a lot of games use a lot of different artists for various different
Right,
purposes, different styles.
right. Like even with
Like
3D
someone could have
games,
a more cartoony style, and someone could have a more surreal style.
yeah, like even in 3D games, that needs like a lot of artists, like for textures and models and environments.
Yeah, not to mention the 2D art to visualize everything before going into the 3D.
Right, even in 3D, there's still some 2D going on. Like the HUD is usually sprite based.
Yeah, there's sometimes the HUD, or in some early 3D games, some things are done in sprites,
The
and even
point,
then, the that early 3D look is now becoming more of an aesthetic choice more
yeah,
than a sign of the times.
yeah. The
And I
lesson,
kind of like that because low poly stuff kind of has
yeah,
its charm.
that's kind of why I like the Sonic Mania special stages so much. The lesson here, children, is that art is very important. I think Johnny is having some technical problems. Or maybe he just has a hold up, but he's a great artist. You should go check him out. I'll put his links in the description. Oh, yep, he is having some technical difficulties. So, well, we're 30 minutes in, so let's call this an intermission. I would like to thank Johnny for joining me, and I will see you all after the break where I will talk about things on, well, more just my end of things. I will see you all in a bit. Hello and welcome back from our little intermission, let's call it. It is now about 2 in the morning and I am recording this in the dark in my bedroom because that's just about the only place I have any sort of quiet to-do list thing without a ton of background noise, especially at about this time of night, because with the way my house is, there's just pretty much always something going on that's gonna be loud and distracting in the background, and you don't want that in the background, right? Right. So I guess this is about the time where I'll just be talking about what I'm playing and what I'm watching and maybe what I'm reading if I ever actually start reading anything. That sounded like a really forced laugh. I am just not normally a very reactive person. I'm sorry. But what have I been playing? Well, mostly Knights of the Old Republic 2, which is, but as you'd expect, it's the sequel to the original Knights of the Old Republic, which is a game I've put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into over the course of the time it's been out, between the Xbox and the PC version. And that's a game that I really like a lot, pretty much ever since my freshman year of high school, which was, gosh, like 6 years ago now. It's a game I've called probably my favorite game of all time, and with the restored content mod, which is pretty much a necessity for KOTOR 2, I would say it's probably tied for that spot. Like, the gameplay is far more refined, and just generally the atmosphere and story around it is so much more kind of ominous and kind of scary. Like, it's easily the darkest Star Wars game. That was English if you couldn't tell. It's easily the darkest Star Wars game to date, with the whole concept around, like, the plot being the last living Jedi and tracking down the other supposedly living Jedi Masters to, combat a huge threat that's destroying entire planets. And I suppose that's about as general as I can get with it, without going into spoiler territory, which is something that I'm going to do right about now. So, if you don't want to be spoiled for the story, then I would recommend just maybe skipping this part and joining me in the next video or podcast or wherever it is that you're joining me. I won't be mad. Just, I hope you enjoyed what you listened to, and I'll see you around next time. But the story of KOTOR 2, like, the whole villain being Darth Treya, she, like, I don't even think it's fair to actually call her a villain, because, like, she makes a lot of strong arguments about how, like, things like how self-righteous and arrogant the Jedi had to be while countless worlds burned during the Mandalorian Wars. Mandalorian Wars. Gosh, I am not doing so well without a guest. Like, the Jedi during the Mandalorian Wars are like, oh no, there must be some other threat going on, while, like, countless thousands of millions of innocent civilians were just dying during the Mandalorian Wars. And then along comes Revan and Malak, and they're like, okay, we're going to take a bunch of Jedi, and we're going to go and fight in the wars, whether you like it or not, regardless of whether we have your blessing or not. And as a result, Revan and Malak fell to the dark side, and so did a bunch of the Jedi that followed them, the ones that didn't die during the wars. And it turns out that you play as, one of the Jedi that followed Revan, and well, whether you fall to the dark side or not is kind of your choice because, player morality is a huge thing in the Knights of the Old Republic games. And, like, you would expect while you're gathering the Jedi Council members, the ones that are still alive, you would expect them to be more grateful that you're, like, for what you did, like, going to war to protect innocence and how you're gathering them to stop the new Sith threat. But it turns out, no, they actually kind of hate you and hate what you did. And that's when Darth Treya comes in and kills them, and you are then the last living Jedi, unless you've been training your companions in the ways of the Force, which is, something I did. I don't know if I got all of them possible, but I did train Atten, and I believe I trained Mira. And I went Dark Side Revan, Light Side Exile playthrough, so Malachor was not destroyed, and I'm doing another playthrough currently with Light Side Everything. And once you get the hang of it and know how everything works, the game is so much easier. Like, I had a hell of a time with things like the HK units on Telos during my first playthrough, which was pretty much completely blind, aside from knowing a few general events that would happen later on, like the duel with Scion on Malachor. And I would argue that this is easily the best Star Wars story yet. It is deconstructionism at its finest, which is something that The Last Jedi, for instance, tried to be and failed. Because this, like, has something of value to replace in what it deconstructs, but The Last Jedi really doesn't. And that is my sort of unscripted, long-winded, off the top of my head speech on why I love KOTOR 2 so much. It is a good game, and you should go buy it and play it immediately. I love it. What else have I been playing? SRB2 Kart. Yeah, that's a fun game. It's sort of like it kind of reminds me a lot of Mario Kart 64 in its aesthetics and how it controls. It doesn't have a ton of content in the base game, but there are a ton of mods, like my favorite one being the Klonoa character mod. There are a ton of those out there that add even more to a game that's already pretty fun. Like, especially in the face of Team Sonic Racing, which is looking super kind of unimpressive in a way. Like, it doesn't look terrible, but it just looks like a lesser version of Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed, which is a game that came out in 2012, so to be a lesser version than that is kind of like a what are you doing kind of thing. Like, I'm one of the many people that made fun of the whole pizza-looking lava thing, which is ironically something they made fun of Mighty Number 9 for. And, well, not Sumo Digital, that was more just Sonic Twitter kind of thing. I feel I should clarify, and like in a way that's kind of disheartening. Like, I don't expect the next major Sonic game to come out until 2021, which should be the 30th anniversary. And with the South by Southwest panel, we know that a Sonic game is in production. Azuka didn't specify if it was the Sonic Team game, but I think it's safe to assume that it is, because, hopefully they learn from their mistakes with Forces and they're not only giving their games like a year and a half to cook anymore, which would be the ideal scenario, but we do not live in an ideal world, and Sonic is not an ideal franchise. Like, there's absolutely nothing to go off of for speculation as to what the game will be, because all we know is it's in production, not even necessarily development, but production, being that they're just kicking around ideas and have like a sort of finalized idea of where they're going, and maybe are writing a outline for the plot and maybe a script. But like, even that is just wild, baseless speculation, because we don't know where it stands in production. All we know is it is in production. And I feel like I just repeated myself, but I feel it bears repeating, because we know absolutely nothing about this game yet. We just don't. And I feel like I went way off on a tangent there, but that's just the nature of podcasts now, isn't it? Take a drink of my cherry Pepsi there. This is not a sponsored video, by the way. But hey, Pepsi, if you want to sponsor me, I have loved Pepsi for years now, so let's maybe get a sort of sponsorship going. What else have I been playing? Persona 5. That's a really great game. I got last year when it was gifted to me from a friend, and I love it a lot. It is my sort of introduction to the Persona series, and since I don't have a PS4, I got the PS3 version, which I hear a lot of people say it's not as good, but now of course I don't really have anything to compare it to, but I think it's great. I think it runs and looks fine. But as for Persona 5 itself, I like the whole concept of Akira Joker, whatever you want to call him, being a guy that got screwed over just for doing the right thing because the area is run by a bunch of really crummy adults. That's something that I feel like everyone can relate to some degree. Like, how authority figures think they can do whatever they want just because they are authority figures. And obviously, nobody really likes it when people are like that. And you can that could apply to anything, like teachers or parents or governmental figures even. And like the whole thing with the Phantom Thieves of Hearts is that they're out to reform society by kind of literally cleansing people's hearts and squashing their kind of inner demons. That's how I interpreted it anyway, with like Kamoshida's palace. Like, Kamoshida is a really kind of crummy guy, and it's clear to Ryuji and Akira and Morgana, who are going into his heart, who like is a kind of a dick to his male students and sexually abuses his female students, and they're out to reform society, so they go and confront his sort of like inner persona, as it were, and they kind of change him and expose him for the shitty person he is. And, ooh, I just said a swear, and I was really hoping I wouldn't. Oh, there goes the kid-friendly rating for this podcast. Oh, well, I can always censor that, I suppose, but I don't know if I will. I kind of like to keep podcasts raw and uncensored and unedited, where my main channel is kind of where I present myself in a more sort of advertiser-friendly manner, as it were. And I don't really know if saying those naughty words is really advertiser-friendly, but, it's a thing. They say them on TV all the time, and I don't see anyone pulling their ads over it. But, YouTube is a fickle beast, and they are a very volatile platform, and you never know what change they are going to introduce next. And that in of itself makes it kind of scary. But what have I been watching? Oof. Well, I recently started a binge of the Star Wars saga again because, well, if my long-winded speech on KOTOR 2 didn't clue you in, I kind of like Star Wars a lot. I would consider Empire Strikes Back in particular one of my favorite movies, and, you know, I honestly think that most of the movies are actually at least kind of decent, save for maybe Attack of the Clones and The Last Jedi. Like, The Force Awakens was super derivative, but I thought it was decent as a movie and on some merits, but like it's kind of interesting to me to go back and see like with something like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or any kind of series with an ongoing story, like how the story progresses from beginning to end. Like whenever there's a major episode of, say, The Walking Dead, which is another thing I'm going to talk about, like whenever there's a major episode of that coming up, I tend to go back and rewatch the major episodes past, like the series premiere or Better Angels, just to like kind of refresh my memory and see like where we started from and where we are now and how we got there. And that's always been part of the what makes the experience enjoyable for me. Just like seeing how far we come, you know? As for The Walking Dead, I kind of know where the story's going, look, because I'm vaguely familiar with this point on from the comics, but not super familiar. I would like to get super familiar with the comics, but the compilation books are kind of super expensive, which is what I usually read them from. I have up to book 11 or 12, I think. I will have to check, but I do not feel like getting up from my chair right now. But the Whisperers, I know what they're gonna do, and I know at least one person that's going to die. Of course, I say this as I'm scrambling to get this out in time so I can scramble to work on another video, so I can scramble to work on another video to get that ready for a super special occasion. And if you follow me, you probably know what that is. But, yes, I know one of the people that is going to die. And for the sake of super spoilers, I will not reveal that here because it was kind of a leak and I don't really want to put anyone's name out there in particular just for, the sake of their security and safety. And in a way, I'm kind of, well, I'm kind of hoping that there's a few other characters I'm kind of hoping bite the bullet because I really, really do not like Henry in particular. And I'm still super angry over how the, Scott Gimple, the former showrunner, treated Chandler Riggs, who played Carl. And, Andrew Lincoln leaving but coming back for the movies, I'm okay with that. I imagine the plan is to have him come back in maybe like the last season because they are absolutely not keeping him gone forever because I believe Scott Gimple himself said that Rick will survive all 3 movies that they have planned, but, they also had Chandler Riggs sign up for 3 more seasons from the season he died in, which is season 8, I believe. So we would have him right now, but, Scott Gimple threw a huge wrench in that plan and said, nah, we're going to kill you instead. So who knows? Maybe Rick will die in one of the movies and the rest will be a flashback or something or another. Because, as I understand it, they're also planning more spin offs for other characters, which I believe Abraham is one of them now. That's sort of soft confirmed. And one of the ones that I would really like to see get a spin-off is Shane, because, he was sort of a big part in driving Rick into what he became, like, as we know him now. And, like, seeing, like, him getting Lori and Carl to the Atlanta camp, I think that has a lot of potential for storytelling. A lot went on, and, like, Shane being the leader at the camp during the time Rick was in his coma, that was a decently long time. There's a good few stories you could tell there. But who knows, that is all just wild speculation and something I would like to see. And I believe that is all she wrote for this half of the podcast. Thank you all very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed. And I will see you all in the next video.
We can show the world what we can do. You are next to me and I'm next to you. Pushing on through until the